Hello, Homestead team. I'm Chaplain Robert Terrell, and this is your August 16th, 2021 Monday Motivator. Very first job I had in my life was as a janitor. Now, that's not your typical job for a teenager, but my dad sold janitorial supplies, and therefore, he hooked me up with a job as a janitor. And one of the results of that is that I've always connected really well with the janitorial staff at the various facilities at which I've worked. I've known almost all of them and had great conversations with them. Several of them stand out in my mind as teaching me valuable lessons. One of those is a gentleman named Fred, who worked at a church that I worked at. Fred had a lot of social anxiety and some other issues where he just didn't feel comfortable in groups larger than about 3 or 4. So he was never actually able to sit in one of our services, even though he was a member. He would usually stand by the back door just in the hallway right there and listen. You'd catch him singing there too. Or sometimes he would be in the sound booth where there were only a couple of people and they all knew Fred quite well. The thing that always amazed me with Fred was he did a great job on everything, okay? Everything. He was a wonderful janitor. But when it came to setup, he just spent extra time on it. He tried to do everything he possibly could so that when people walked in, they were excited because they knew that something was going to happen because effort had been put into setting up all of this stuff. They could tell that it was just not somebody who just put up chairs. All the bulletins were put out in their proper spot. The chairs were just set up in immaculate rows, and he would do interesting things all the time. I once asked Fred, and I said, Fred, I know you care about your job and you do a great job on everything else, but you seem to care about setup more than anything else. Why is that? And he said, well, Robert, I can't be around more than 3 or 4 people without feeling anxious. So I don't get to sit in our church services. I don't get to express to my friends around me that I love them by being a part of that group. But when I set up, I get to tell everyone there that I love them. They may not know it, but I'm thinking about every one of them as I set that up. One of our fundamentals at We Care Senior Care is to give great first impressions, and I think this fits in line with what Fred was doing. Our first impression tells other people that we care enough about them to prepare beforehand, that we're loving them before we ever know them. It does the same thing with our coworkers. It does the same thing with our family too. When we put that extra effort into doing the stuff that's needed before they ever get there, before we ever meet them, to give that great first impression, we express love to people who are not even in the room yet. You do it with your clients when you prepare beforehand and you get stuff ready before you ever enter their door. It's a great way for us to express love. My faith teaches me that we are not just to love in word, but in deed and action also. It's this way of saying what we say matters, but what we do matters all the more. We know that. Our whole focus is love the verb and teaching others about love the verb. A great way to teach others about love the verb is to love them before you ever see them by preparing to give a great first impression. I hope you have some examples in your life of where somebody has given a great first impression and loved you before they ever saw you. And I hope if you remember nothing else, you remember this. Our CEO, God, He cares for you, and so do I. Have a great week, okay?